is how the championship run begins. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Buckeyes' win over the Huskers 52-17 in Columbus. Please like the video, share it on social media, and subscribe right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. All right, here's our instant analysis on this one. It was pretty cut and dry. Justin Fields may be better than he was last year. 41 touchdowns, 3 picks in 2019, and 2 of those against Clemson, and 1 on the last play of the season, of course, for the Buckeyes. 20 of 21, matching Graham Mertz's performance for Wisconsin against Illinois last night. And he threw that laser shot to Garrett Wilson. And from the opening drive, it was obvious that Ohio State intended to get the ball specifically in the hands of Garrett Wilson. 7 catches for $129, coming off a freshman campaign with 30 catches and 6 touchdowns for Garrett Wilson. He is exceptional. These Ohio State wide receivers with Wilson and Olave leading the charge, and Chris Olave wearing the number 2 this year from 17 to 2 because CO2 means explosive. Chris Olave had to leave the game, though. Note of concern here, late in the ball game, sandwiched on a catch. Had to leave the ball game shaken up. Hopefully he will be fine for the Penn State showdown in Happy Valley next week. All right, Justin Fields had to run the ball too much. We can go on with the superlatives of how well he threw the football, and he did. He was on the money every throw. Threw 21 times, the incompletion, not his fault. He was just on the money, so much to the point that one of the receivers fell down off his break on a curl route. Justin Fields put it right on him anyway. 15 carries in the game, though, for 54 yards. That not a good sign for Ohio State football. They do not want Justin Fields running the ball 15 times per game. 6, 8 times per game, that's fine. But not in a 52-17 game. So the Ohio State running game needs to come more from the running backs, and we know this. So the issues there come from the way the defense plays Ohio State first and foremost, forcing Justin Fields to keep the ball on all those mesh plays. And then also the Ohio State ground game outside of Justin Fields was pedestrian. It started to get rolling a little bit better in the second half, but there were 3 consecutive 3rd and 1 plays, 3rd and a half yard plays in which the Ohio State offensive line could not push Nebraska's inexperienced front out of the way to get the yard that they needed. So somewhat concerning. Don't want to go ballistic. Don't want to go crazy. Don't want to overreact following one game. The other guys have scholarship players too, and Nebraska's a decently talented team. They did, though, have to replace their best defensive players up front this past season, and Ohio State, supposed to have one of the best offensive lines in the country, could not bully them up front. But Garrett Wilson, yes, he was exceptional. Jackson Smith-Njigba had that play in the third quarter in which I liken it to the Lynn Swann play in Super Bowl X against the Cowboys, in which his entire body is over the white, out-of-bounds area, but he has so much body control that he contorts the lower portion of his body to stay in bounds. Njigba made that kind of play in scoring a touchdown and getting 1 foot in bounds to make it 45-17. At that point, Buckeyes win at 52-17. All right, Chris Olave, 6 catches for 104 yards. The only other concern for the Buckeyes, and especially in the first half, was containing the quarterback run. Not good play. It looked like 2018 for several drives for Ohio State in the linebacking department against Adrian Martinez, who ran 13 times for 85 yards. And keep into consideration, that's with sacks taken off. Ohio State had several sacks of Adrian Martinez, and he still ran for 85 yards. Too much on the ground. All right, let's focus on Nebraska football for you Husker fans. Again, Adrian Martinez looked good throwing the ball, but everything was underneath. They could not stretch the field. Wan'Dale Robinson, the big play guy for Nebraska, 6 catches for 49 yards. That's 8 yards per catch. Could not stretch the Ohio State defense downfield. Everything was underneath. Martinez hit 12 of 15 throws, but again, everything underneath. from the opening play of the ball game. They hit a pass for 8 or 9 yards. That's a positive play, certainly, but when you rely on that to take you 75 yards down the field, it typically doesn't work, especially against a talented defense that's going to make a play at some point to put you behind the sticks. All right, the veteran offensive line for Nebraska looked pretty good. Inexperience along the defensive front, as we mentioned, without Darian Daniels, Khalil Davis, or Carlos Davis. They played well and held up. These targeting calls have to go. Joel Klatt talked about it. I've talked about it for years. Ever since the current targeting rule came into play, I have simply said, how are defenders supposed to play? How can you play a physical collision sport like football within these rules? How can you contort your body to make a tackle to make sure that a receiver or running back or ball carrier is not advancing the football further down the field against very fast, talented players, very physical players on offense? Contort your body in such a way to make these kind of tackles and avoid the head contact, the high shoulder, neck area contact. And it happened twice in this game with two of Nebraska's better defensive players, Cam Taylor-Britt and also Deontay Williams, for targeting. The other issue in all of this is that the targeting should be broken down into tiers in regards to the aggressiveness of the targeting, the launch angle. That is certainly part of the equation. But these two were not egregious targeting calls. They should be 15-yard penalties. The player should be able to stay in the game. And then if they have another personal foul, take them out of the game. The second personal foul, just like any other second personal foul, should be a disqualification, but not the first one. Let these guys play football, warn them, 15-yard penalty, then the disqualification for the second time. I like that they at least don't make them take the walk of shame to the locker room anymore. That's a positive step, but they need to take further steps in allowing these kids to play football and then continue to teach to protect the players. We want the players protected. Yes, we do, but they're playing a collision sport. It's a dangerous sport. We want to limit that as much as possible. But what are defensive players supposed to do? Make split-second decisions. It's impossible to play defense now. And so at least don't let it affect the next week's game unless, again, there's a second personal foul and disqualification. That I can understand. But we are not only penalizing these players for this game, but for the next game. And for Nebraska, that's two of their best defensive players in the secondary for the next game against Wisconsin. Difficult opponent, difficult game, difficult assignment, missing two of your best defensive players. Should not happen. So there's our takeaway on the Ohio State side and the Nebraska side as well. Husker fans want to hear from you. Ohio State fans as well. Leave your comments down in the comment section below. And, of course, subscribe. Hit the bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football.